In this video, I'll share one of the most powerful techniques we have available to us for sculpting 3D form and dimensionality into our two-dimensional photo. It's called dodge and burn, and it's a way for us to take control of the lighting after the photo has been taken during the editing process. Let me show you how it works. Currently, this is a pretty flat photo that all I've done so far is just do a quick develop raw just to boost up the exposure to where it should have been when I took the photo. And from here, I'm just going to dive into the dodge and burn tool. In Luminar Neo, that exists in the professional section, but don't let that scare you. It's super easy. I'm going to select the darken mode and push the strength all the way to 100, just so you can see what this does. And I'm just going to put a stroke through the photo. You can see that it's darkening down wherever I put a stroke. So if you're like me and occasionally get confused by which is dodge and which is burn, they make it super easy in Luminar Neo. We have darken and we have lighten. So instantly, darkening is the burning component and lighten is the dodging component. So let me show you what happens when we dodge our photo. We're just brightening up the photo. And currently I don't have the strength set to 100. So you can see that I can build this effect up with subsequent passes of that tool. Very good, Anthony, but what is the point of all that? Well, it's to guide our viewer's eye. Brighter parts of an image tend to be where the viewer's eye goes. So for example, if I brightened up the waterfall, people tend to look there. And then if I darkened around the edge, the attention would be taken more towards that waterfall. So our intention through doing this is to guide the viewer's eye through our photo. So my game plan here will be to brighten up the center of the frame, the waterfall through here. I'm going to darken down the edges, a bit like a vignette, but do it with more control. And then areas where we have some form, like the tree trunk in the foreground here, I'm going to actually use dodge and burn to try and push that form to a more three-dimensional feel. So let's start off with the darken mode, and we do not want to work anywhere near 100%. I'm going to start with 10%, and I'm also going to push the softness all the way to 100. The softer transition is going to make our dodge and burn effect look a lot more believable. I'm going to push the strength a little higher, 25 will do, just so that we can actually see exactly what's going on here. And currently I'm working around the edge of the frame just to really try and darken down this effect. All right, let's have a look at the before and the after, just with that darkening effect, which is similar to a vignette, and it's just helping to guide our viewer's eye to the center of the frame. Now I'm going to switch to the lighten mode, again crank that softness all the way to 100 and start working with that. So I'm going to brighten up the center part of the frame, including the waterfall. I'm also going to go over the water here, and you can see that I just reduced the size of my brush there, and I do that by keeping my fingers on the bracket keys on the keyboard, and that enables me to make the brush smaller or larger with my left hand on the keyboard and keeping my right hand just on the mouse. Now I've done this in a really heavy-handed way here, just so you can clearly see the difference between the two photos. I would certainly recommend that you build this effect up more slowly than what I've done here, and take your time. I'm really rushing with this. You can see at the top there, I've just put a little bit more lightning effect because I want it to look as if the sun is reaching this part of the stream up here, and then we're in this sort of darker cavernous area where the waterfall is. Now, when you have gone too heavy-handed, we have the ability to switch to erase mode, and then depending where we put the strength, that is going to define how much of the effect we remove. So if I put that around a quarter, again, softness with 100, a nice big brush, and I'm just going to sort of chisel away some of this brightness because I really overdid it, particularly on this left-hand side over here. Okay, so at its most basic, we have a darker outside to the frame, helping to draw our viewer's eye to the brighter part in the middle. Very basic, but very effective as well, especially when you spend a little more time than I have here. But now let's go a little bit further and start to sculpt more of the form. So you can see that the cliff is kind of broken here. We've got this kind of jagged edge running through here. So what I'm going to do is just run my mouse along in darken mode just to sort of intensify the effect of a shadow here. I'm also just going to darken down either side of the waterfall. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to create a sense of contrast between the waterfall and the edge. It's just going to give it a little bit more pop. And talking of that, let's switch to lighten mode and let's work on the waterfall. What we can do is intensify the strands that are making up the waterfall. And I'm going to do that by clicking once at the top of the waterfall, coming down, holding shift on my keyboard and clicking at the bottom. Did you see that? We created a vertical line from top to bottom. And that helps us just to more clearly define the fronds of the waterfall. So before and after, can you see how we're starting to really work with the light now? While I'm in the mood for some sculpting, let's just work that brightening effect along the edge of this tree trunk here, and then we can switch to the darken mode and just push that along the shadow edge as well. So again, if you see a straight part, you can click once, hold shift, and then click again, and that's just going to create a very nice straight line. Obviously, you want to be careful of doing that in landscapes and organic scenes because very little actually follows a nice straight line like that, but it's a useful technique to be aware of. All right, let's have a quick look before and after, before and after. Now pay particular attention to the fallen tree. In the original, it's very flat looking. And then when I reveal our dodge and burn layer, you can see that we've helped to sculpt a bit of three-dimensional form into that log. If we want it to stand out a little bit more, what we can do is also just bring back some of the lightness on the underside of the log. Just adding in that contrast between the two elements, again, will just help it stand out a little bit before and after. Now, if you've been working on the dodge and burn effect and you want to push it further, but you've already maxed out just how bright you can make an area or how dark you can make an area, all you need to do is just close that version of dodge and burn down. That's going to then end up in your edit stack. So you can see that's literally the only tool that we've applied to create this look. But now we can come in and initiate another version of dodge and burn. That is then going to allow us to actually go brighter than what we had before or darker if that's what we choose. So if I wanted to, I could really push this area above the waterfall to really kind of bleach that out and lose any detail up there. And if there's other areas where you just want to bring back a bit more light, like some of these leaves over on the right-hand side, we can work on those, and maybe this fern on the right-hand side as well. And if we want to, we can take some of that darkening effect a little further as well. Hopefully, as you're watching this, you can see the problem that I'm getting. There is a really big problem with using the dodge and burn tool in this way. I mean, it's the only way to use it, but there is a big problem with it. And I hope that it is clear to you. I am going to fix it, but there's also a better way to work with this tool so we avoid this in the first place. But this is just dodge and burn 101. This is just the absolute basics at the moment. This little area just up here is really annoying me. But this is a really good example as I try and darken this down of the problem that I was alluding to before. What is going on with that little area there? It is getting so oversaturated, and that's been going on with the whole image as well. The green around the edge where I was darkening things down, that saturation has just been getting away on us. If we flip back to the original photo, you can see that those colors are so much more muted, whereas our version, where we've been controlling the value of the light, it's also been affecting the saturation negatively. So let's fix that up quickly by jumping into the color section, coming into HSL, which stands for hue, saturation, and luminance. And we want to address the saturation of both the yellow and the green. If I start dropping that down, you're going to see that we are able to desaturate both of those colors. Obviously, we don't want to take it that far. And I'm just going to switch to the hue so I can control the color of that green as well. I'm just going to take it away from that kind of cyan look that it was pushing towards and just pull it back towards a more believable green just by pushing it towards yellow before and after. We've solved a lot of the problems, but we still have this really, really neon kind of yellowy green area right here. And that's where we can come in with a secondary effect of this and really target that area. I'm going to grab a color mask and I'm just going to move that eyedropper over that area to select it. And now with that color selected, I can come straight in to my adjustment and just grab the saturation and bring that down. If I push it all the way, you can see it's turned it completely gray. We just want to put that at a place that it kind of feels a little bit more in keeping with the rest of the scene. So before really shouts, hey, look at me. And then this is our correction. Let me show you a nice way we can dial this effect back. What I'm going to do is duplicate the layer. I'm going to come over to the edits, which will include all of those changes that we just made. And I'm going to remove all of those dodge and burn edits, but just leave this develop raw. Just going to bring the exposure back down just slightly. And now we have our two layers. So on top, we've got our original. And if I hide it, we can see my very over the top dodge and burn effect. So if we want to get a hybrid between the two, what we can do is show that top layer and then come into the layer properties, and we can just use the opacity slider, and depending where we set that will determine how much of the underlying layer versus how much of this top layer we're going to see. So we can just sort of ease that to a point where we think, you know what, that's a better blend between the two, somewhere around halfway. And that's a way that you are able to work more heavy-handed with that dodge and burn, but take the original to a more sculpted, finished look. So here's our before and our after. Before and after. So now you know how dodge and burn works, it's time for the brutal truth. I don't use this method. I think this method absolutely stinks. I hate the fact that we get oversaturation of color introduced into our photo. I also feel it doesn't really give us much control over the overall look. So in the next video, right there, I'm going to show you the correct way, or the way that I like to do dodge and burn anyway. It's going to give us a lot more control and a much better outcome as well. So I'll see you in that video right there. Bye-bye for now.